Public Image by Danny Fantod. Drew picked her up early despite his late night. 24 years old, and Emily still lived with her mother. He tried making small talk with the woman, but she only replied with that smile, tight and polite. She didn't care for him or anything he had to say. She just wanted her daughter back on time. They waited in front of the Public Image gallery. She shaded her eyes and explored the figures in the window displays. She looked like an actress in black and white. Her hair was sable, long and straight except for a curl over her forehead. Smoky eyes peered out from an ivory complexion. Shimmery cream blouse tucked in wide-leg black slacks. Silvery clip earrings dangling from her lobes. A star on the left and a crescent moon on the right. The only color in her palette was the muted red of her lips. "This is a nice place. They have real art here, not that modern stuff." Too late it occurred to him that she might like modern art, that she might think him coarse for not liking it. "I draw and sculpt," she chimed in. "Really? I'd love to see your work sometime." She replied with her mother's smile, tight and polite. Marcia came hustling up the sidewalk and unlocked the doors in a rush, as if they might suddenly turn and leave if she didn't display a sense of urgency. She held the door open for them and ushered them proudly inside. She had every reason to be proud. The gallery was a jewel in the crown of Trailhead Village. Her floor plan made the small space seem larger, more complex than it really was, like a museum in miniature. Every direction one looked was a different theme, another scene. He got out the digital SLR in the medium format, set up the 4K camera on its remote-controlled tripod. He followed them like a shadow for the next 2 hours, while Marcia gave them the grand tour. Emily did a marvelous job feigning interest. Or maybe her interest was genuine. It was hard to tell with her, but it didn't matter. She did a marvelous job. The tour ended in the cluttered, chaotic studio. Marcia had the girl pose for a sketch, and he trained the video on them. Helping himself to a mineral water, he lit a Dunhill and put his feet up. Marcia's hand danced across the canvas, and he looked on in amaze as a form took shape. A figure, a person, a girl. Standing with her hands resting on low columns, one leg before the other, as if she might walk out of the picture. Marcia's pencil zeroed in on the figure's face, and he watched it come into focus. Pale, majestic, serene. Marcia captured the wry smile, the upturned nose, and those eyes, those smoky eyes. Marcia captured those too. He packed up his gear while Emily admired her likeness. Those smoky eyes seemed to follow him. It was the twilight of hospitality at Journey's End when diners lingered over dessert and drinkers drifted in by ones and twos. Bill started pouring Drew's the moment he saw him. The current single malt scotch and a low glass of ice water. Bill would have to wait for Jane's order, which was different every time. Drew predicted something teal or blue to contrast her nails. She surprised him by requesting a chocolate martini, and when he saw it in her hand, he conceded to himself it was a good choice. He used her phone to photograph the dun-colored drink by itself, then with her hand resting on the stem, then half headshots of her and her drink, the dating profile as he called it. He slid the phone back to her and she examined the pictures critically before uploading. She took a sip from the glass and her wide, inquisitive eyes narrowed. She looked at the drink, then toward Bill as if it were his fault. She didn't like it. Jane couldn't have been more unlike Emily. She was an actress in technicolor, rosy flesh and toothy smiles. She drew the eye and lit up a room. She was the image of America's sweetheart, but there was tart beneath the sweet, as he knew. Tonight the tart was more present than usual. He dipped a spoon into the scotch and carefully poured it onto the surface of the ice water. Then he lifted the glass and sipped it from the top. It was more bitter than he liked. He took another spoonful, a little less this time, and poured it gently on the water. It was a little better. This was his habit and ritual. He paused to reflect after each sip, to reflect and to build up his appetite for conversation. "Something wrong?" he finally asked. Her face went blank by reflex. "No, why would you say that?" He shrugged in reply and floated another spoonful of whiskey on his water. She gave an audible sigh. "It's just that," and here it come, I don't understand why you're using her and not me for the Trailhead Village campaign. You know why, he said, not looking up from his glass. No, I don't. He lifted the glass and sipped. Just right. Put the glass down. He looked into her eyes, her big blue doe eyes. If the Village Association found out I was using a cam girl too. Before he finished the sentence, her soft doe eyes had hardened into diamonds. He was not surprised when she came down with a headache and had to cut their date short. At her door, he tried to apologize. She pretended there was no need. He shrugged and walked away with his hands in his pockets. Later that night, she did what she usually did when he disappointed her. She posted new swimming suit pictures to her website, behind the paywall, to let him know what he wouldn't be getting for a while. When he could no longer stand the misery of his own company, he called the girl. Her mother answered the phone, a landline, of course. Is Emily there? Yes. Is this about work? No, I was just thinking of trying out a new restaurant tonight and thought she might like to join me. In the quiet pause, his thoughts raced, and he added, You can come too, of course. I don't think that would be a good idea, Mr. River. You're right, he agreed, crestfallen but not surprised. I will tell her you called, though. He thanked her, then drove down to the village office to pick up his check. He strolled down the boulevard, enjoying the weather and the bustle of people around him. He found himself in front of the public image gallery, shading his eyes and exploring the figures in the window displays. Marcia walked over to greet him when he came inside, gave him a hug. Those pictures are wonderful. The video, everything. You are a genius. He put up just the right amount of resistance to her praise. The camera does all the work. The subject helps too. He looked about at the riot of color, searching for something black and white. Speaking of which, do you still have that sketch you made the other day? Marcia's eyes lit up. You are going to love what I did with it. She led him back to the studio and showed him a finished painting. It was Diana, the huntress, but also Emily, who emerged from the night between two low columns. Her shimmery blouse had become a modest tunic, and in her hand she held a recurved bow. Over her shoulder hung a full moon that seemed to give off its own light. The arrows in her quiver sprouted quills that silhouetted against the moonscape. That is genius, I'm afraid. He kept his voice calm, even. Any chance I can buy it? She looked concerned for him. I'm sorry, I was going to give this to her as a present. Oh, well, that's nice. Steady, steady. Why don't I have it framed and give it to her for you? Marcia agreed and boxed it up for him. He took it back to the loft, and after trying several spots, he liked it propped up on top of the shelves that housed his record collection. He lit a Dunhill and put his feet up. Diana beamed down at him with moonlight streaming over her tunic and long black hair. Her gaze transfixed him, and he narrowed his eyes until the painting was all he could see. He would get it framed. He would give it to Emily, eventually. There'd be no way he could keep it when Jane came back, if she came back. She'd recognize the girl in the picture. He would give Emily her painting and give Jane the Trailhead Village job, and that would be the end. Until then, he had those eyes to himself.